Everybody? It is Cam Ham, the Fantasy Man, coming at you with the Week 11 recap. Um, Pretty exciting week this week. We had a couple crazy matchups. Again, I'll be in town this week, and as you'll see, we're gonna do our football game on Sunday. I'll get to that in a minute. Weekly shout out. I wanted to give a weekly shout out to Cameron Broker. I feel like he hasn't gotten much respect this year. I think rightfully so. I don't think he deserves a ton of respect, but I think he deserves a little bit. He's been good this year. He's made a real bounce back. People have been saying he's fallen off, and I agree with that. But he's been good. He's made some funny jokes. I don't remember any right now, but I know every once in a while I'll look at the chat and I'll see something that Cameron said, whether it be in Dynasty or Redraft, and I'll be like, that was funny. And then like he'll do the little laughing emoji on my jokes that I make sometimes, and I've taken notice. I've taken notice that he's thought some of the stuff that I'm saying is funny. And then also when it comes to, how he's been playing, he had a big week this week. He did it despite the major mental hurdle he had with his falling out and beef with Rue that happened in the Fantasy Dynasty chat. Those of us who are in the Dynasty League, we remembered that night, maybe a week or two, or it's like a week or maybe a little less than a week ago, fondly, where Rue and Cameron Broker went at it, and he had to overcome that. Um, and I don't know, I just felt like he deserved some recognition, so I'm giving him a shout out. Not He didn't do quite a spoiler alert, but he didn't do quite enough for Dog of the Week. But I thought about giving him Dog. Anyway, I just wanted to give a good old fashioned shout out to Cameron Broker. Had to overcome those mental challenges and that war. And he laughs at some of my jokes. He always also comments about my video, watches my videos very quickly. So I think he deserves that. This is the football matchup we are talking about. We're shooting for 11 on Sunday. There's some people like Rue and Preston who are too scared to show up, but the rest of us will be out there. I tried to do mental gymnastics to get Will on the field next week, but he has an excuse for every single day why he can't play. So Will probably won't be showing up. Big shocker there. And then ski trip. These dates, those are approximate right now. I've bought my tickets. Haven't bought my I've bought my lift tickets, haven't bought my plane ticket yet. But me and Will and Dylan, I think, hammered down a good date. We're gonna go for about 5 days, I think, and buy the 4 pack. So everybody just start thinking about that. Really, try to see if you can go and secure your lift tickets. Um, Best matchup: Ashton versus Preston. It came down to the absolute wire. Was a super important matchup. If any of you guys were paying attention last night, it was wild. It came down to just Preston's defense needing to get one more sack in garbage time, but it couldn't happen. And yeah, it was great. Everybody's watching the league, all eyes on them. So it was pretty crazy, and it really did change the course of the season, as did the Sam and Hunter matchup. The only difference between that matchup and this one was that Sam is a nobody, or not a nobody. That sounds mean. Sam is a non-participant. He's a nobody in this fantasy league. So that's what made that difference. Worst matchup: Cameron Broker versus Will. Not close. Who cares about those two trash cans? Worst injury luck. Not a ton of injuries this week. Darnell Mooney got hurt. This probably won't be a long-term injury. Keon Coleman also was injured for Hunter. Mike Evans was on bye, so whatever. Not really many injuries this week. Nothing to talk about there. Most unlucky, we do have to give it to Doug. Putting up 164 points in a loss is gross. And then who had that Doug? That's the new way I'm going to term the most lucky, is who had that Doug this week. And that was me. I mean, 102 and a win. Like I said in the chat, I had that Doug this week. Insane luck on my side. Dumbest move, we're going to go with Greg. He didn't know one thing he did necessarily was particularly dumb, but I mean, he just can't pick the QB right. I went back the last like 5 or 6 weeks, and Greg always picks the wrong QB. He hasn't had a QB score like over 10 points in like 4 weeks at least. Uh, and then, he could have had Bo Nix this week. He could have had Anthony Richardson. I'm pretty sure he could have had Anthony Richardson. But no, he picked Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson got him 8 points, and that was one of the reasons he couldn't win. He also played a few of the wrong guys. If you look at his bench outscored, a few guys on his bench outscored some starters for him. Also, he picked up a kicker that got him -2, which, is bad luck, but just kind of funny. But he just has not been great lately. And the pickup and play of Russell Wilson and the fact that a few of his bench guys popped off while his starters, didn't do too hot, just has to give him dumbest move this week. Smartest move, again, not many smart things happening. Broker, he played Taysom Hill. He's had Taysom Hill on his roster. Taysom Hill was not a free agent. And he started Taysom Hill this week that popped off for 43, won him the week. So that was a great move by Broker. Not really any good, really no notable free agent pickups this week. Like I said, Taysom Hill was not a free agent pickup. Uh, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is somebody that should be rostered at least, and he popped off for the second week in a row here with, I think he got another long touchdown. So, MVS is somebody notable, a guy for Dylan on his bench, give him a little boomer bust depth. Stock rising, I'm going to give to Hunter Saturday, 3 wins in a row. He's getting Mike Evans back. He's looking to contend. He's right there. So, I'm pretty sure I gave this to Hunter last week. I'm going to give it to him again. I really do think his stock is rising. He gets to play my dumpster fire of a team this week, so that can only go well for him. Stock falling is me. Again, I'm going up against Hunter this week, who's a tank. But really, with the wins from Hunter and Ashton, if you look at my chances to make playoffs, they're even more slim than they were before. If Hunter or Ashton lost this week, I would have had a shot. But after both of them winning, it's just not looking too good for me. Also, I put up 102 points after my monster victory last week. So just as much as my stock can fall, it kind of has. Best player is Dylan. I mean, 187 is disgusting in a bounce back win. Pretty sure he lost last week. And, a lot of people are questioning his team, questioning his ability to play fantasy, but he bounced back. So that's best player, that's dog. But worst player is Greg. Lowest points 4. Or lowest point, yeah. I mean, he had sub 100, and he had the dumbest moves. I guess I'm not saying they were super dumb moves. I get it's hard decisions to make, but he did make some bad plays, and he did score the least amount of points. So I got to give it to worst. Yeah, got to give worst player to Greg this week. Who had that dog? I'm going to give it to Hunter. I mean, he held on, won by less than a point. And it was an absolutely massive win for his playoff chances. Like that game, he needed that. I mean, he didn't need that game per se, but that game was massive for him to be able to stay in playoff contention or at least solidify his spot in the playoffs. So yeah, I really give it to him, especially next week or this, upcoming week. He's got a lot of buys coming up. So he really needed that win. My headphones died, guys. Hold on, I gotta put my headphone in. I think my headphone's back in. Or I know it's back in. I think it's working. But anyway, it was just dog for Hunter this week. He's looking good. Season segments. Not gonna spend too much time on this. Dylan, back up to top dog. Matt and Dylan are really just flip flopping, and you see the people in the middle there are always kind of moving around, and then the bottom. 5 or kind of really it's so here we go. I did tiers here. I think this accurately represents it. Matt and Dylan are kind of flip-flopping around. Hunter and Broker, they're contenders. I mean, they're right there, just like you see here. Hunter and Broker are really in their own tier for contenders. Doug and Ashton are solid playoff teams, but if things go wrong, maybe they could fall out. And then me, Preston, and Bobby, we're just trying to get lucky. One of us could maybe squeeze in,
to the playoffs, but we're just trying to get lucky to get a playoff spot. And then you have trash, which is Greg, Will, and Sam, that really have no chance to make the playoffs. So that's what we got. I think that tier list is helpful, and I feel like it's very accurate. I feel like Sam and Dylan are on a tier of their own right now, and then there's a couple people in very clear kind of sections there. So I think that's very helpful. So we'll go with dabs. Start off, we're going to give Sydney, Will's girlfriend, her first dabs of her relationship, I guess. Will told me that Sydney told him that she wants royalties because she has been shown in my videos. And I know what her deal is. We've all been wondering. We're like, why would she be dating Will? Will's a total bum. And I think we know her game. She's gotten close to Will, so she'll make it inevitably into my videos. And then she can take all my, tons of money that I make from these videos. So no, we're not having it. 3 dabs to Sydney for trying to take my royalties. Tyler for faking a knee injury, 3 dabs. I've been told Tyler has a knee injury. I really doubt he actually does. Will for dropping Chuba Huba. We've discussed it. I just have never given him dabs for it, so I'm going to give him 10 dabs. Chuba Huba is one of the best running backs in the league right now, and he dropped him early season. Hunter for not voting to kick Bobby in Dynasty, 4 dabs. We had a vote to kick Bobby. Hunter voted to keep him, as did Greg and some others. But I feel like Hunter deserves dabs for it because he just has a history of being an enabler and a Bobby and Sam apologist. I saw it come from Iowa. Like Bobby and Sam could probably murder somebody in this fantasy league and then never set their lineups again. And Hunter would be like, I don't know, I kind of want him in. Anyway, that's dabs. Hunter's never going to be able to, cut Bobby or Sam loose no matter what they do. This is an interesting one. Will told me that Hunter was having a girl come over to meet the family not too long ago, and she was like, whatever, like she has to like drive an hour away to get to Hunter's house, and Hunter wasn't awake until like 10 minutes before she got there. So you can imagine this girl going over to this guy's house to meet his family for the first time. She's driving like an hour away. She's texting Hunter. She's like, hey, I'm on my way. Do you still want me to come over? Hunter's not awake. Hunter's not awake until like 10 minutes before Hunter finally wakes up and, tells her it's cool. Anyway, it's dabs. You can imagine how stressful that could be for the female. Bobby for being in another fantasy league and seemingly setting his lineup. I found out this week that Bobby is in a 3rd fantasy league. Him and Matt are in another fantasy league together. That is dabs. Bobby can't even manage his 2 fantasy leagues he already has, and now he's in a 3rd fantasy league. And Matt told me he's 9-2, 5 dabs. Bobby for working on his car, 5 dabs. Apparently Bobby's a car guy now. I think that's pretty lame. Broker for not showing respect to Rue in Dynasty, 1 dab. As we all know, that fight with Rue got started just because Broker was, being disrespectful. He wasn't giving Rue the respect he deserves. That's all a joke. If you saw for those of you in the Dynasty League, you might think that's funny. Doug for saying that having that Doug in him means he scores a lot of points, 2 dabs. Everybody knows that having that Doug in you means that you get lucky in fantasy. But according to Doug, it means he scores a lot of points. So that's not true. Doug for not knowing the phrase, tie goes to the runner. He's supposedly an athlete, 2 dabs. Ashton had said, tie goes to the runner in a chat. And Doug basically was like, what does that mean? So Doug's not an athlete, confirmed. Doug and Greg for going MIA and not hanging out on Sunday, 5 dabs. I was told by a few sources, I won't name the names, but they were supposed to come over to one of my sources' houses to watch football, and they might have later, but at the time I talked to those people, they hadn't heard from Greg and Doug, and they were all like, what the heck, Greg and Doug just are ghosting us and not coming to watch football. 5 dabs. Greg for constantly picking up the wrong quarterback, 2 dabs. Dylan for having a complete Doug-style meltdown, but worse on a trade that was not bad at all. 6 dabs. I'll try to explain this quickly, but I offered Dylan... So Dylan had been trying to get Terry McLaurin for me. I offered Dylan Terry McLaurin, Ramondre Stevenson, Terry McLaurin and Ramondre Stevenson for Devontae Smith. Oh gosh, who was it? Devontae Smith, Hunter Henry, and Josh Downs. And Tony Pollard, sorry. Anyway, it was, whatever. So Hunter Henry is a non-factor. It was basically Pollard, Devontae Smith, and Downs for McLaurin and Stevenson. Whatever. You don't have to like the trade. It's not an absurd trade. Ramondre Stevenson is higher. It is a better running back. Ramondre Stevenson is a better running back according to the points, according to the statistics, than Tony Pollard is in fantasy. Terry McLaurin's a much better receiver than Devontae Smith in fantasy this year. So Josh Downs is the throw-in to sort of even that out. But Dylan had a meltdown that would have made Doug proud. It was just like, oh my gosh, you're an idiot. You've been talking to Preston too much. Why would I ever take that? He then went on to claim that I was offering him 1.5 starters for 4. He was like, I'm going to give you 4 starting players for 1.5. And then I said, hold on, Dylan. You're counting Hunter Henry as a starting player? After I said that, Dylan then drops Hunter Henry. So anyway, if I might have to explain it to you guys in person, but it was just funny. He's like freaking out because there were 4 starters for what he called 1.5. And one of those 4 starters was someone that he dropped literally during our conversation. Dylan, Broker, and Ashton not attempting to make a trade when they have obvious needs. Now, Dylan did sort of make an attempt to trade with me, not a realistic one. But Dylan has a good bench, and he's about to kind of lose a starter in Kareem Hunt. And he needs to bolster his starting lineup by getting rid of some of his bench guys. Like, if I was him, I'd trade Tony Pollard and Josh Downs for a better wide receiver that he could, start consistently. But Dylan doesn't want to do that. That's a clear need that Dylan has, is to bolster his starting lineup using some of his better guys that are sitting on the bench. Cameron Broker, as I give him dabs later, has, I think, like 8 running backs and 3 wide receivers, and one of the he basically only has 2 playable wide receivers. Is Cameron Broker trying to trade one of his 8 running backs for a wide receiver? No. Ashton's the opposite. He has 3 running backs, one of them being, he has Derrick Henry and then 2, like Zamir White. I don't even know who else he has. He doesn't have Zamir White, but he has Derrick Henry and nobody else. And then he has like 4 good receivers. It's a clear need for Ashton, but he's not even trying to attempt to make a trade for a running back. It's just crazy. 11 dabs. When you have a clear, 11 dabs. When you have a clear need like that and you're not trying to trade to fill it, it's dabs. It's just, you're not even trying. Matt for being in another fantasy league, 2 dabs. Matt for wanting to talk trade, but only being willing to trade Jameson Williams and Jordan Mason. And then he also refers to Jameson Williams as a top 15 wide receiver. 2 dabs. It's not that big of a deal, but every time I try to talk trade with Matt, it just always comes down to those 2. He refuses to even consider trading anybody else. Matt for telling me that he beat Bobby in both leagues as if it's impressive. 4 dabs. Again, Matt and Bobby are in another league. Matt texted me, he said, hey, just so you know, I beat Bobby in this league and my other league. Like, what up? And I was like, Matt, it's really not that impressive to beat Bobby in fantasy. People do it all the time. He probably didn't even set his lineup. So that was about 4 dabs. And then Broker for only having 3 receivers when he has like 8 running backs, 5 dabs. Most annoying is Dylan. If you would have seen the conversation we had, it was a very annoying conversation. He just, again, was freaking out about a pretty decent trade that I offered him. And then literally after talking to him for like 5 minutes, he then is like, oh, okay, it's not that bad of a trade. Terry McLaurin is great. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I don't know why you had to be so mean about it. Anyway, Dylan was just super mean about that trade, and that was really annoying. And then also the fact that he doesn't think he needs to bolster his starting lineup by trading, like an Eckler or somebody on his bench. That's pretty annoying to me. And just trade shenanigans this week with Dylan. It's just been annoying. So here's the tallies. Not going to really look at it. Hunter gets his first dog. I think Dylan gets his first annoying this week. Whatever. Next week's best matchup is Cameron versus Hunter. A must-win for me. A major rivalry. And me and Hunter are going to be face-to-face. We're going to play football against each other. We're going to go summits together, and we're going to be all up in each other's grill for this amazing matchup. I do predict Hunter beating me, though, because, come on, guys. My team put up 102 this week. There's no way I pop off for anything good. We have a few interesting ones here to close it out. Preston wanted to make these tier lists, so that's fine. Mental game, Preston believes. I edited a little bit here. Preston believes, there's the Andrew mental game tier, which is just the worst you can get. Bobby and Ash and C tier, I feel like it's accurate. Hunter, Riley, Dylan, Matt, and Logan and B mental game tier. Okay, I think Hunter's mental game is pretty low. And in soccer, oftentimes I think people would agree holds onto the ball too long a little bit. I don't think Hunter, like for example, in soccer, like his strength, I feel like is just bam, is just quick, score goals. It's not necessarily mental game. Whereas us other good mental game people, Doug, Greg, me, Preston, we're more methodical. Coordination. Preston is assuming that Broker is prime Broker. And is S tier in coordination, which he did used to be. Andrew is in his own tier. We've got a Logan in coordination. C. Bobby, me. I would say I would put Bobby in the Logan tier. And then, who knows about Matt, but him, Riley, Ashton, Will, Hunter, Doug. I don't necessarily think of Doug as being that coordinated. I'm pretty sure it's a thing that if you throw something at Doug, he can't catch it. So I think Preston overranked Doug there. Maybe I don't think Will can really catch, but he can kick something. I don't know how that plays into it, but and then physical skill. I was told by Preston that this also includes like quickness and things like that, but physical skill, just measurables, Preston and Ash, obviously tall, can jump. That's going to give you that. Ashton's pretty fast. Riley, Matt, Dylan. I guess Matt's. I don't know how Preston's ranking Matt. That's pretty weird to me. And then Bobby, Will, Broker. Everybody else in B tier there. I'm not really getting. He said that like quickness and speed also plays a role in this. So, I don't know how you match like a Will, like where Will's fast but really weak, and then me who's much stronger than Will but not fast. I don't really know how he's doing this, but whatever, that is what it is. And Andrew is in his own tier, of course. And then this is a great little thing here. I had Ashton rank who could work at sliceability the longest. So this is good. He gave me these little notes. Broker number one. So Ashton said that Broker said if he were to be a teacher, it would be for special ed. So somehow that, just because Cameron Broker said he would teach special ed, like I'm assuming Cameron Broker said this in high school, somehow that makes him number one qualified. Whatever. Dylan, gut feeling he'd be good. For those of you who don't know, maybe Preston or Matt, Ashton works at Sliceability, which is a place for handicapped or disabled adults where they work and make pizza. Hunter is number 3. He already works in a restaurant, and he might connect on a deeper level with some of the employees. I don't know what that means. Make of that what you want. Will, he wouldn't love it, but he could handle it. Preston could handle it, but he would leave for another job. I guess Ashton thinks that Preston's more of what's it called? He's more aggressive. He's more driven than others. He wouldn't stand for it. He'd try to leave for another job. Ashton did give me some credit. He said I worked with elderly, and I might have been abusive. That's what he said. I wasn't. I think the fact that I worked for like 3 years at an elderly home, and 2 of those years as an activity director for people with dementia, I would think that would knock me up a bit. But, that's cool. Matt, 7. Greg, he has at least been to Sliceability, says Ashton. Sam, Bobby, apparently he said he was going to come. He never did. And he can't get over the mental block he has of working with the staff. That's what Ashton says. And then Doug, of course, everybody saw this coming. He wouldn't last a second. He cannot stand adults with disabilities. Doug's told me that on a number of occasions, so we all know it. So anyway, next thing we got coming up is the football matchup. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Excited to watch football. And I think we will automatically all drop Will down on our athletic rankings lists because he's not showing up on Sunday. But thanks for watching, and yeah, let's ride.